Thank you, John, for being available in this podcast. We call this Wonderful Indonesia podcast.
Yeah, very good. You're welcome, Pasani. It's great to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
And I know you're very busy, but business is recovering. I want to hear from the CEO of one of the largest Indonesian hospitality group. How's business nowadays?
Business is good. Business came back probably last November. It got back to pre-pandemic levels for us, which was very good. Even during the pandemic, though, we probably got down to like maybe 40-50% occupancy. From the 140 hotels we have in Indonesia, we kept maybe 120 of them were able to stay open. We basically calculated, okay, what's the break-even point for the different hotels, and then reduced down the expenses so they could stay open. So at least there's some business coming in, because when you open up hotels again after they've been closed, it's very difficult. You have problems with the air conditioning systems, the swimming pools are cracked. There's, things haven't been in operation for 2 years. So it's best if you can just keep things open and keep them ticking over. So when the business comes back, you can take off a lot faster, yeah. And then during the pandemic, we also started things like, with our online travel agent partners and other travel partners, so we could do like flash sales, for example, on Fridays. We developed that during the pandemic. That brought in a lot of business, so it was enough to take over. So we were able to keep things going. There was NGOs who were using the hotels, there was government business using the hotels, and now some corporate businesses coming back, and people are looking to travel now. So we kind of saw the pandemic as like a 6-year kind of block, where the first 2 years would be the pandemic, and then 2 years of recovery, and then 2 years of boom. So we kind of see it this year and next year as the recovery phase. And then after that, but even now in Indonesia, we'll recover a little bit quicker than globally. But globally, we'll see like in the future, the next 2 years for Indonesia tourism-wise, and the world will be just like booming, because so many people are just going to travel, in spite of the problems with, aircrafts and ticket prices and being able to fly over Russia if you're flying from west to east, for example. I mean, there's other issues and stuff like that, but still demand for tickets and prices and domestic travel or international travel is just growing and growing really quickly, So business has been pretty good, actually, yeah.
You have 140 properties now. How did it all started?
We started off about 25 years ago. I mean, most of it started, say, for example, 20 years ago. When we started off, we had the Aston brand. We had a couple of hotels.
Where was your first hotel?
The first hotel was Aston Bali, actually.
Aston Bali.
Aston Bali, yeah.
Near this is the one in near Nusa Dua? Or?
Yeah, near Nusa Dua, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So
I remember that.
You remember that one, yeah?
Yeah.
Originally, that was supposed to be a Japanese hotel. And then before they opened, they had some altercations with the owner, and then they decided it's not going to work, so they gave it to us. So we opened it up as it was, and then after that, then we had another one, Aston Sudirman in
Yes.
Jakarta. And that was it for a couple of years. And then, 20 years ago, we saw the development of budget airlines. So AirAsia was coming in, Lion Air was coming in, Indonesia was getting rid of fiscal tax. So people were traveling more. We could see that there was more of a demand. I mean, 20 years ago, if you wanted to go to Singapore, it was a $300 ticket. And when you got to Singapore, it was a $200 hotel. But once AirAsia and Lion Air start coming in with $25, $30 tickets, and people don't want to spend $200 on a hotel, then there's going to be demand for budget hotels. So then we started off, okay, then we need budget hotels. Okay, so what's a budget hotel? And then we developed a brand called Aston Express. And that was like anchored onto the Aston brand, but like a light version, like a 2-star, basically Aston, right? But what happened then was Intercon sent us a letter threatening to sue us if we use the Express brand, because they have Holiday Inn Express, right? So we were like, okay, so what do we do? So we said, okay, well, we'll have to think of something else. So then we developed like the Fave Hotel brand.
Fave Hotel, so started from
Aston Express.
From Aston Express.
So that was a gift for us, because that forced us then to develop a brand new brand, all design standards, service standards.
I stayed in Fave Hotel.
Oh yeah, I mean they're good. I mean they are what they are. I mean they have the key success factors. They're clean. They're fun, fresh, friendly. The air conditioning works. The water works. The beds are actually a 4-star standard.
Yeah, the beds is actually much better than the 3-star standard.
Yeah, exactly. So for people traveling, then they're perfect. So that was kind of the first one, and after that, then the second one then was like other brands we developed. So we said we developed, the master plan was like we developed one brand per year, and that's been going on. That went on for about 10 years, and we'd have 10 brands.
So now your top performing brands would continue to be Aston
And Fave.
and Fave.
Yeah. So say 40% of our hotels would be Aston, 40% would be Fave, and the other 20% would be among the other brands.
All right. Well, has it always been in your blood, hospitality industry, or does it come from family? Or
No, for me it was always hotels. I always thought hotels, like, I remember I decided to be in hotels when I was about 9 or 10 years old, because I always thought hotels, when I saw them on television or whatever, I always thought they were really glamorous, so I was like, wow, hotels, yeah. So when I was 14 years old, then I started working in hotels. I went after school, I started working in the Intercontinental in Dublin, as, as a cook, just helping out when I was very young. I started off as a waiter first, and then I was a cook. And then, but yeah, I always wanted to do hotels. So everything I did from the time I was 9 or 10 years old was always geared towards the hotel business. So once I started, this year I'll be 40 years in the business. I'm 54 this year. So I'll already be 40 years in the business. But everything we do is basically...
exactly the same age, John.
Oh, really? Okay.
1969.
Yeah, it's a great year, right?
Summer of 69.
60s, the 60s, the kids of the 60s. So I was born in May. You were born, what month were you born in?
June.
Okay, so I'm a few days older, yeah. I'm May 31st.
May 31st. 1 month older than me.
All right.
I'm 28th of June.
But we don't look it. We look like 79, right?
No, thanks to sports and
nutrition.
Thanks to tennis and nutrition.
So.
But it's struck me as because when you think about Aston, people thought that it's a global brand, but actually it started in Indonesia.
Originally, it started off in Hawaii, and my partner Charles Brookfield, who's the chairman of the company now, he was the president of the company in Hawaii at the time. And other companies, it was like in the 70s and the 80s, they started off doing condo hotels, and he was the one who brought the brand over to first the Philippines and Indonesia. But then Indonesia was developing better, so then he dropped the Philippines because not much was happening there. This was like mid-90s.
Yes.
And then he opened up the first hotels here in 97, 98. And then after that, he developed from there. Then what happened in Hawaii, then the company separated out. So then he put the Aston into the company here, Archipelago. And then we developed the other brands. So Aston would be like an anchor brand. And then the other brands then developed on from there. So that's where I originally came from. But the company itself, Archipelago, is an Indonesian company.
And you now operate in 7 countries.
Yeah, we do, management, licensing agreements. We also do what's called Powered by Archipelago, which is like distribution and connectivity. So we also do that for hotels that are not branded by us, either independent hotels or small groups of hotels. For example, we do hotels in the Philippines, but we don't use any of our brands, but we have 30 hotels we service over there. We also service and do hotels like in Vietnam, for example, or UAE, in Dubai, for example. And we also do then in Cuba, we expanded into there. So we do other stuff besides just hotel management. We also do, for example, software for some hotels. But yeah, we do a kind of a variation of stuff. So altogether, there's 140 hotels in Indonesia, but in our group, for example, at the moment, there would be like maybe 230 hotels altogether, kind of in the system, yeah, if you like to call it that.
But headquarter would now be?
Here, still in Jakarta. It's always in Jakarta, yeah, just around the corner from here, actually, yeah. So
that's why, and this is something that sometimes you take it for granted because the name sounds very international,
yeah, exactly.
But it's actually local creations.
Yeah.
If I may, what would be the key success factors? Now, you operate more than 25 years, and you went through so many, the Asian financial crisis, the SARS, and then
MERS, 9/11.
MERS, 9/11. COVID. Well,
yeah.
Before COVID was global financial crisis.
Right.
What would be your key success factors so that you could continue to not only survive, but you thrive and you're continuing to add properties into your portfolio?
Yeah, I think the basic thing in the beginning was we have like we're flexible. We try and keep it fresh, but at the core of it, we have the basic concept is that we try not to repeat mistakes. We have Kaizen, like the Japanese thing. For us, we call it a bit more technical. It's called an aggregate of marginal gains, which basically we said in the beginning, okay, we didn't have much standards and stuff in the beginning, but we developed all the standards and we said, okay, we'll try and improve 1% every day. over the years, you know. But 1% every day, week by week, month by month, year by year, adds on to a lot of improvements, you know. And parallel with that, then we decide, okay, we'll try and improve, and we'll also try and not get worse. So we try not to make sure we're repeating any mistakes or not, you know, getting worse as we go along. So this allowed us to kind of like improve the group, improve everything we did over the years. So after 25 years now, we're in a pretty good place where hotels are running, they're running well, where hotels are opening, they're opening well, you know, everybody can fall into the system. So for us, I mean, you know, most hotel management companies have the same goal, or, you know, we all want to be the best, the biggest, all this kind of stuff, but, you know, it's the system that you put in place to support those goals is what's the real kind of superstar. So the system that we developed and what we put in place, that became the superstar of what we do. So if anything ever happens to me, for example, if I get hit by a bus, or it's bad news for me, but hopefully the company, you know, will keep on going, and the whole system has been developed so it's self-sustainable and self-improving as it goes along, you know. So our whole kind of core principles are based on that, you know. We have some other stuff called, like, we call HAM, which is like harmony, alignment, and momentum. So we have the principles are based, so it's like a triangle, right? So you have Kaizen in the middle, and then in the corners then you have HAM, harmony, alignment, momentum. So the harmony part is like, we want the company to be harmonious, everybody gets on well, everybody has opportunities, everybody has you know, input into the company. And then the alignment, then everybody understands what the goals are, everybody understands what the system is, everybody's aligned in all the different departments where we're going. And then we try and make sure we have momentum as well in the company, that we're always like, you know, feel like we're moving forward. We have, you know, good things to do. If we have like small successes or big successes, we celebrate them. But everybody has a feeling that the whole company is moving forward. We're not stagnating in any area. So we're always looking for, if the company is like not moving in a particular way, or just like looks like it's stopped or going backwards, like that's a warning signal for us. So we always try and keep that momentum going in the company. Yeah. So all those kind of things put together, like, basically made this system kind of like a superstar of, you know, the hotel business in itself. And that's what allowed us to kind of expand, improve, and move into other countries and do other stuff and develop other things, you know.
Aggregate gain.
Of marginal gains, yeah. So an aggregate is basically a collection of
sounds
marginal gains.
Sounds to me like $1 saved is $1 earned, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's just basically like small. You know, instead of like looking for big improvements in the company all the time, we're always constantly looking for little improvements, but in every department. And we always try and get, like, for example, all the hotels will either at their morning briefing, or they'll have a separate committee where they'll discuss, okay, where can we make, you know, small improvements in different areas, either at the greeter's desk or in social media or at the breakfast buffet. But, you know, and they keep these, and then they solidify them in, they cement them into the company. And then every day they're always trying to improving the uniforms, improving the guest interactions, anything like that. But every day, so the whole company, the whole group, from top to bottom, everybody understands that they need to have this kind of momentum going, these improvements, and at the same time not making things worse. Yeah.
We've been trying to attract more investment into the tourism, in particular hospitality side, because in tourism there's always 3A accessibilities, government-built infrastructures, amenities. We hope private sectors will come up with the best of innovations, and also attractions. This is something of a private-public partnership. What's your experience investing in the sector so far in Indonesia?
A few years ago, we started building our own hotels. I mean, I had a trip to Anyer, for example, which used to be very popular with the Jakarta market.
I saw your new
Aston Anyer.
Aston Anyer. Right? I prayed there. I wanted to stay, but I did not have the time. But it's beautiful.
You used the mushla, yeah. Thank you, yeah. So we have a male and female mushla, right? You saw that? Yeah.
Well, actually, they got me a room.
Oh, they got you a room, okay.
So I saw the room.
Has a bit more, but the mushla, actually, we put a lot of time in. It as a nice, like, if you go to the ladies, for example, you can get a nice mukana, it's not smelly, it's like, it's fresh and stuff. So it's very important. Yeah.
That's what my wife told me. Exactly. I don't like this property because it has smelly mukana.
Yeah, exactly. So I went to Anyer 10 years ago, just on a weekend, you know, but I couldn't find a good hotel. So I was looking at it going, okay, there's 25 million people in Jakarta, which is just 2 hours away, and Krakatoa is like 500 international companies, so for sure there's business down there. So we decided, okay, we'll get some land and we'll build a small hotel down there, and that became then Aston Anyer, and we kind of developed that over time, and then we built the overwater villas during they actually opened during COVID. So that was our first hotel we built, and we built another one in Cilegon, and that was more to service the kind of corporate sector in Bantan. And at the moment then, I was there this morning actually in Serang, just across the road from the new governor's office to support them. We're building a big kind of conference center right across the street from the new governor's office. The mayor's office is nearby, so Bantan is really like growing, but there's no really good international, there is no international branded hotels there.
Yes.
And they don't have any conference facilities for like, we're building for about 5,000 square meters.
Oh,
which is very big. It's just what you need. I mean, it's perfect because it's only about 60 minutes drive from Jakarta.
Yeah.
And that, so our experience has been very good. I mean, everything from buying the land, processing the licenses was all good. I mean, the one that they did in Serang, and all the licenses now are online, right?
Yeah.
So we were actually the first one in Bantan to do that. So we worked with the mayor of Serang to be able to process that and see how it was. It was new for them, it was new for us doing it online. But yeah, it worked out really well. So for us so far, it's been very, very good. And the returns, the business in Anyer has been excellent, and Cilegon's doing really good. And then Serang will open up in August. And we think that's going to be a big success as well, yeah. So far for us, for our private investments into the hospitality sector, it's gone really well.
Now, that's really good news, because this is the type of testimonials we want other investors to hear, because we are being tasked to develop 5 super priority destinations.
Right.
Lake Toba, Borobudur, Mandalika, that's in Lombok, Labuan Bajo, and Likupang. Now, given these 5 areas, what's your perspectives on these areas? And if you haven't really done so, would you manage or even build your own hotels in these super priority destinations?
Yeah. Well, I think the idea to focus on these destinations is very good. I mean, obviously for the government, it's important to develop economically and the tourism outside of Java. Because I mean, obviously in the last 20 years ago, it was very centered on Java, right? So focusing on those areas outside, or just business in general, tourism in general outside Java is important. And not just Bali, I mean, Bali will always be Bali, so. But even if you're not trying to replicate Bali, it is important to kind of focus on these particular areas. So, I mean, probably the number 1 area for me would be Labuan Bajo.
Labuan Bajo.
It would be like.
Do you have
very good
a property there already?
We don't have any properties there. I mean, we're in negotiations at the moment to talk to people there, but that would be a very good destination for people. And I mean, obviously, you have like Marriott are going there, Ritz-Carlton are going there. The infrastructure is getting better. It takes 10 to 15 years, sometime, and over time it will keep coming. And you need to get the staff in there, staff facilities, access for the staff going back and forward, getting supplies in there, because it is more expensive. If you're building, for example, in Labuan Bajo, it's 40% more expensive to build a hotel there than it is in Java, for example, just because contractors don't really want to go there. They have to bring all the materials there. They have to bring all the crews there. It's like it's more logistically, it's more difficult.
And manpower is not available.
Manpower is very difficult, and you'll have much more turnover. I mean, staff in Labuan Bajo, basically, you'll expect them to turn over like once a year.
Yes.
As soon as they'll go there at first, but as soon as they get a job in Bali or Jakarta, they'll move, and then you replace them. So you have to have like a little bit more. Your HR department is bigger. You have to have like more training programs. You have to have more facilities for the staff. What do they do? How do you feed them? How do you clothe them? How do you wash them? How do you get them home? I mean, flights to and from there are tourist prices. There could be 6 million to 10 million on peak season. Yeah. So you might need to have to pay that for staff. So it's difficult, but I think Labuan Bajo would be number 1. Then Mandalika, in Lombok is close to Bali, so as a secondary kind of pop-off place, that has good potential as well. Yeah. Like Toba, depending on what you want to do. I mean, sometimes what's your definition of success? It doesn't always have to be mass tourism. If you can, develop a particular area and develop the economy there and help the people there and develop them.
Any plan for you in
for Lake Toba? We've talked to a few people again, but we don't have anything there ourselves at the moment.
How about Lombok?
Lombok, we have some hotels in Lombok, not in Mandalika, but it's getting. We have actually one signed in that area. So, but I mean, that area down there is beautiful. I mean, the whole Kuta beach is unspoiled. Yes. I mean, it's fantastic, So that has potential for sure. It's easy access. It's only an hour and a half from Jakarta. It's easy access from Bali. So, I mean, I think that's going to be a big success, yeah. Likupang for me would be the little bit of an outlier, which is more of a difficult one because it's more of a beach. I mean, for me, if it had been, for example, Manado, that was the destination, and then Likupang was something that was a part of that as a spoke, perhaps. maybe that would have worked. But I think Lee Kupang would be a quite
Do
a
you have
difficult one.
a property in Manado now?
In Manado, yeah, we have a couple of properties in Manado. They do great. It's a beautiful city, nice place.
Well, actually, you could access Lee Kupang from Manado.
Exactly,
so a lot of actually tourists also stay in Manado, but having their activities
so
in Lee
once
Kupang.
the access from Manado to Lee Kupang is built, the roads are better and stuff like that, and then there's some facilities there, then I think it will do very well. But I mean, Indonesia has so many great places. I mean, for me, the problem is not picking 5. The problem is like from the 500, whittling it down to 5, because I mean, there's so many good places to go.
Yeah, we also have like special economic zones like Tanjung Lesung.
Right.
And then we're opening up Lido in Sukabumi. So a lot of emphasis now or focus on investments, and I'm kind of glad that you think the investment framework is improving, and you don't have, I'm sure there's some challenges, but you don't see
less than you would expect, yeah. I mean, when people ask me, because people call us from overseas, I mean, people call us from Singapore or Malaysia, what about this? How's the special economic zones? Or what about the 5 new Balis and stuff like this? And we tell them, I mean, it's very good. And I mean, developing hotels here, developing properties is actually much, I mean, people hear, oh, Indonesia is this and Indonesia is that, but actually it's much easier than people think, And I mean, we haven't hardly had any problems. I mean, but I mean, a lot of this stuff is like the government, if they're having an issue with the license, would be correct. I mean, maybe the zoning is not correct, or maybe the land size is not enough. I mean, problems you would have in other countries as well. It's not just Indonesia you would have that. But in general, like if you have like all the building requirements have been satisfied for the government, then it's like super smooth. It's no problem.
Okay, now we're going to basically have a sessions whereby you tell me some very concise visions in the Archipelago Group in relations to several topics. First, sustainable tourism.
Yeah, sustainable tourism, I mean, once you mention sustainability, people think, oh, plastics and water and stuff like this, but I mean, there's different parts of it, right? I mean, if you break it up into the environmental part first, I mean, our group does all the parts about plastics and reduction of water and reduction of electricity, for example. I mean, most hotel groups, international standard hotel groups these days would do that. So all the environmental stuff like that is pretty much done. Everybody has it built into their standards where, you're using like heat pumps, you're not using boilers anymore, using much less electricity, energy saving light bulbs and all that stuff. So the environmental part in hotels now is very good. As regards sustainability, we can expect I mean, there's hardly any point, like before people used to say, oh, sustainable hotel on the OTAs, for example, but I mean, there's no point really putting that because you're not differentiating yourself from anybody else because everybody does it. If you do the other part then, for example, then if you're looking at the social aspect of it then, I mean, we do a lot of stuff. I mean, we were the first, one of the decisions we made about 15 years ago is we would only hire Indonesian general managers. Because at the time it was a trend, hire an expat, get them in there, do the thing. But we said, okay, well, if we want to do it properly, we're going to have to hire and develop. If we want to have 250, 300 hotels in the future, there's certain things we're going to have in the future. One of those things is a big mass of available talent, and that's only going to be Indonesian. So we developed, for example, from 15,000 staff we have in Indonesia now, all of them are Indonesian.
15,000 staff?
Yeah, at all the different hotels, yeah.
Wow.
And a lot of the managers, what allowed us to do when we had the 2-star to the 5-star is, for example, the front office manager from the 4-star could become a hotel manager in the 2-star. And then after that, he could work his way up and then he becomes a general manager in the 4-star. And the system that we set up, this famous system.
Basically, I still remember HAM.
Harmony, alignment, momentum.
Alignment,
and Kaizen, yeah.
And
so
and also aggregate marginal gains.
Yeah. So once people,
I'm taking notes.
You're taking notes, okay.
So I'm gonna have a sessions with our leaders in tourism.
You get back, okay.
Talk
I'm
about
happy to talk about it
and HAM.
Okay. I'm happy to do a presentation sometime if you want to see how it is.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
But basically, like the guys, so if they're moving from one hotel, even if it's from a 4-star to a 2-star, the toolbox that we make for them is exactly the same. So they know they have graphic standards, they have breakfast standards, they have P&Ps, SOPs, all this kind of stuff they have. So when they're moving around to the different brands of the hotel, they might be different. And the 5-star is a bit more complicated, but the actual toolbox that the managers are working with is exactly the same. So all the guys can move around very quickly. So we have a lot of guys now been working in like 5, 6, 7 hotels with us. They started off like at a low level, worked all the way up, you know. So we have like a lot of guys working all the way across the group, but we try and do that in all the different places. We try and hire, you know, 90% of the staff from the local area and then develop them, you know, over time to reach to a certain level. And then after that, when another hotel opens, then they can move off, you know. So, you know, the contract workers can become permanent staff, the daily workers can become contract. Because one of the problems in hotels is the succession planning. Okay, you become the executive housekeeper. Okay, after this, where do you go? And a lot of hotel companies, they don't have a succession plan for this. But with us, it actually works out quite easy because, you know, there's so many opportunities. They can become a hotel manager in this place, or they become a supervisor here, or they can do different stuff. And we also do a cross-exposure program, like where the guys, the department heads, work in different departments once a week. So they learn, for example, the chief engineer can learn the front office one week and the kitchen the next week. So when he becomes a manager, he has a good knowledge of like the 12 or 14 different departments that he has to work in and how they work, you know. So we also so we work with that, and then we do a lot of work with the hotel schools, the vocational schools, to train up the students and stuff like that. We make sure they have plenty of opportunities. So basically, yeah, a lot of the stuff is focused on them, yeah. Economically then, of course, I mean, the best thing we can do is make the hotels as successful as possible. So the service charge is as high as possible, the salaries are high as possible, the taxes are as high as possible. So everything works really well. So one of the things, I mean, is important for us when we're developing hotels is that the type of hotel is put in the right place. You know, I mean, a lot of owners come, oh, I want to build a 5-star hotel. Yeah, but I mean, maybe it's not going to work, it's not going to make money. And, you know, that in itself is not sustainable. So an example of that might be, for example, you know, Mandalika, for example, they opened up a Pullman hotel there.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a 5-star hotel down there. But, you know, the 5-star rates are only going to be achieved for 2 months of the year.
During MotoGP.
During the MotoGP. So that in itself is not sustainable. So that's not a sustainable decision, you know. So you would have been better off maybe building a good quality 3-star or 4-star hotel with some 5-star rooms. But that would have been more sustainable throughout the year then, because a 5-star hotel will only really work if it's in a place where you have these events all the time, or it's on a beach.
Yeah.
Or in a mountain where you have like amazing views and it's all hunky-dory, you know. But in general, like if you want to get like a place that's not on a beach but in a good location but can have year-round business, not just seasonal, then you need like a 3 or 4-star hotel. So an investment in a 5-star hotel like that, for example, is a big unsustainable investment. And over time, it's just not going to work, you know. I mean, it's going to run down, they're going to cut costs, the staff are going to leave, they're not getting paid, things are going to run down when people stay there, it's not looking 5-star anymore. You know, it's just like, it doesn't work, you know. So it's important then to pick the right hotel and the right size hotel, not too big, not too small, you know, not too over-spec'd, but just make it right, you know. And then the other thing on the economy, of course, is to be buying from the local vendors, not just like fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, but also like, you know, the beds where they're produced, like the window frames, the paint manufacturers and stuff. It's important for us to make sure, or, you know, every company should be doing it, to make sure that they're buying locally produce from Indonesia. Even if it's a foreign company, you're still buying from here, you know. You're not buying, if you're buying an AC unit, you're buying one that's produced here. Even if it's Mitsubishi, it's not Mitsubishi Thailand, for example, it's Mitsubishi Indonesia. So that all helps, you know. So it's important to go through all this stuff and find out where people are sourcing their different stuff, you know. So that's some of the stuff we're going to do for sustainability, you know, for, you know, the environment, the social aspect of it, the economic aspect of it. And then the last one probably then is the cultural aspect of it, which is important then to be developing like the art and culture, different events and stuff like that within the hotels.
I saw some art piece in your hotel.
Hey, you'll see them here. You'll see them in many of our hotels. I mean, we'll often have like local artists coming in, and we'll try and encourage them. So, I mean, you know, in Indonesia, because of the climate and stuff like that, you don't really have like a town square. You know, shopping malls or hotels kind of become the default town square like we have in Europe. But here the hotels where this becomes the hub of, you know, hotels can become the hub of, you know, culture and art and gatherings and, you know, interesting events, and, you know, if it's food or poetry or music or artwork and so forth. So it's important for us also to be developing that as part of the sustainability for the local culture, you know.
Okay, that's very long answer for such a short topic, but it's huge topic, sustainable.
Huge topic, yeah. I mean, I could go on forever, but it's not just plastic, you know.
Yeah, it's not just plastic, I agree. Okay, job creations. What does it mean to the Archipelago Group?
For us, it means, you know, building people up to be the best that they can be in their particular, you know, giving them the tools, the training, and the opportunities to grow as much as possible, to develop themselves, you know, sometimes, to develop to a stage where they don't stay with us, they move on to another hotel group, and maybe later on then they come back to us. But overall, I mean, we've trained over the years, we've trained over 80,000 staff. And we have, 14, 15,000 at the moment. We've trained about 80,000. I mean, and you can see them all over the place. I mean, if you go to many hotels around, I meet our staff all the time. If you go to like a lot of the OTAs, like Traveloka, Ticket, that's our staff also who are working in those places as well, So, there are people working in your ministry who used to work for us.
Yes.
So this is the thing, but for us, it's important that they have, the feeling and the tools that we've given them, but they can also use those, all the tools like harmony, alignment, momentum, aggregate of marginal gains. You can take that and you can put that into any business and improve it. If you take those principles and put them into manufacturing, into a football team, you can make it better, you can improve things. And then, that's where people can, develop themselves, make more money, start their own company, do their own thing, become a boss of a company, and everything grows. Everyone's a winner over time. So that for us was always the thing. It was never really about giving money away for donations and stuff like that. For us, the money was always about going into training, going into development of the staff, opening up a hotel in Anyer and having 100, 150, 200 staff between casual workers and daily. But all of those guys now, they have a career in the future that will make them money until, forever, basically. That will support them, will support their families. It will support, the Indonesian tourism industry. It will support Krakatoa Steel and all the industries there. I mean, it all compounds, builds upon itself, little by little, all these little bricks that are getting better and better,
Yeah. Profitability versus ESG.
Well, profitability, I mean, again, for us, profitability goes back to sustainability. If the hotels are not profitable, if they're not the proper hotel and not making money, again, staff won't get paid, the service charge won't be as high enough, taxes won't get done, and the investments will be, basically a disaster, I mean, you have to have whatever hotel you decide to build, even if it's a 2-star, 100-room hotel, it needs to make a profit. So, things can keep going, suppliers can get paid, business is good, things keep going, the staff still gets paid, their families get fed, everything goes around. If you have a hotel that's, not doing well, I mean, that's the worst thing you can do. Owners get disappointed, just everything goes badly, So for us, profitability is key. All of our profits as a company, we just actually reinvested. I mean, we're an organic company. We don't carry any debt. We've never had any debt as a company. We've always just developed it. We've always been debt-free. We don't even, even a motor car, or a computer, we'll just cash. Like when we're building hotels in Serang, that's cash. So if we have money, we'll build. If we don't have any money, we don't build. But, we plan ahead that we have this amount of money. This is the stage it's going to take us 12 months to build, a year to develop, another 12 months to build. But after that, then it's debt-free, and then it goes on from there. But most of our money we develop or reinvest into things like building our own hotels, or during COVID, for example, and we got into software. We developed our own property management system. So we have 20 software guys who worked on that, developed our own system. I mean, we had been doing our own apps, for example, membership apps and stuff like that. We had developed some of our own software, asset management software, HR software and stuff like that. But then during COVID, we said, well, we got this 2 years, that's going to be a bit of a lull. So we'll invest our money in that, and then we'll develop our own property management system. So when COVID is over, one of the things we have is our own property management system. So that worked out really well. So it's basically we wanted it to be, user-friendly, for Indonesians, for people in Saudi, whatever like that. So it's basically if Google made a property management system, this would be it. When you see it, it's feels really comfortable, easy to use, easy to navigate, very quick, So that's going really well at the moment. So we launched that late last year. That's going good. So we'll invest in stuff like that, as well as building our own hotels,
Indonesian food.
Amazing.
Amazing. What's your favorite?
I kind of beef rendang, of course. I'm a big guy, so I like the beef and stuff like that. But I mean, there's many. I mean, you go many parts
beef
of Indonesia.
Rendang?
I like beef rendang. I like noodles, meat, rice, nasi goreng, of course.
You like nasi goreng?
I do actually, yes. I guess,
but how do you
classic.
maintain your physiques if you eat a lot of nasi goreng?
Well, I try and keep for me, I try and keep the carbs down to about 20%. And then I take about 2,000 calories a day, and then do a lot of sport, running, stay in shape and stuff like that, So, but
you incorporate a lot of Indonesian menus in.
Oh yeah. I mean, for our food, it's probably about 80% be Indonesian, and then from that 80%, maybe 80% of that would be like on Indonesian food, and then the other 20% would be local specialties, because we'll try and, basically what we do in our hotels is, if you're staying in one of our hotels, you should get a feeling that if you're in Manado, you're in, like when you're in the room, you know you're in Manado. Buy something that's in the room, either the materials or the uniform of the staff or something like that. And if you're here, you can tell, oh, we're in Jakarta because it has this kind of feeling. Just gives you that sense of place, you know. And we try to do the same thing then with the food. So we have like Indonesian specialties and things that everybody loves and stuff like that, but we also try and introduce then some of the local delicacies, so the locals can use it.
In the minibar and also in...
Yeah, in the minibar or in the restaurant in particular, you know, is where people are. In the breakfast buffets is where people will have a lot of their food, or for meeting buffets and stuff like that will be local specialties there.
I noticed that you use a lot of Indonesian local foods when I travel and stay in your property, and that's what we're trying to build with our strengthening the supply chain.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, again, that, you know, you don't have to make the Indonesian food. You're not, you know, bringing over Australian beef or olive oil or cheeses from Italy. You're using local ingredients. You can do a little bit of a twist on it. You can do a special type of beef rendang or sop bontot or nasi goreng or something like that. You know, but you can still make it interesting. But you're always using the local ingredients, so the distance traveled isn't so big. There's not a big, you know, environmental impact. And then, you know, you're also helping like the local producers to buy all their stuff. You know, you're not just depending on imported products all the time. We try and reduce imported products as much as possible. You might use, you know, some strawberries or something like this, but in general, I mean, I'd rather have like a tasty mango than be, you know, importing a tasteless strawberry from Holland, for example, that's been grown in a greenhouse and never seen the sunshine. You know, I mean, that's not for us. I mean, we'd rather have like a sun-ripened mango or a beautiful pineapple. You know, I mean, for us, that's okay. That's better. But you can do something interesting with that then, you know.
During the pandemic, we are not allowed to do buffet, and now buffet is back. And the questions about food loss, food waste is one of the sustainable sort of like topic. Do you think customers want buffet back?
Yeah, I mean...
But more reasonable buffet, probably.
More reasonable buffet, but I mean, buffets now are a little bit different than the way before, for example. I mean, they are more hygienic now, for example. I mean, most buffets now you'll see, for example, at the end of the line, you'll have like a hand dispenser where you're requested to wipe your hands, and then a lot of places you'll have the chefs will be dishing it out. You'll also have the spoons and stuff will be changed a lot more. The dishes that are put out are a bit smaller and stuff like that. But buffets in general are more economical actually than keeping a full a la carte menu around. And it's also like the logistics of it. It's very difficult to do 200 people for a la carte when you could do 200 people for a buffet. And right. The wastage on it, even though there's a little bit of food left over in the buffet, it's much easier to do that than have, for example, 20 main courses on the menu and having enough preparation for all that to feed 200 people.
Yes.
That's actually more waste, even though it never gets cooked, it just rots.
Yeah.
Whereas a buffet, you can change some stuff, you can use all the ingredients you have, and you can process things. If you're smart, you can work things out a lot better, because chefs themselves know, you know, what's going to go on a buffet. If you have beef, chicken, and fish, you know what's going to go first and stuff like that. So you know in general what's to be used, so that you can really kind of reduce down what's used. That's
an interesting way to look at it,
and everything's fresh. You know, if you order a steak in a restaurant here, basically, and you're in an a la carte restaurant, that steak is almost guaranteed it has to be frozen.
Yes.
Where if you have like a buffet, you can get local beef and cook it longer for 3 or 4 hours and tenderize it, or do a beef rendang as a stew, where the beef tastes better, the beef is fresh, it's a local product, it's more to the local taste. Everyone's a winner, you know, instead of a steak, you know.
Final part of this short question, but not so short answers. Innovations versus competitions.
Well, I mean, for us, of course, we have competition. Everybody has competition, but we kind of focus on our own thing and not worry too much about the competition. If the competition is doing great, it's up to them. We have kind of our own vision of, you know, what we are, what we'd like to do, our goals, and our kind of the system we want to put in place. So for us, the innovation part is more what we'd focus on than the competition. I mean, to be honest with you, we hardly focus on the competition at all. It might come up in conversation, oh yeah, they're doing this or they're doing that, but 90% of our time would be on, you know, the little improvements we talk about, or the little adjustments here, or not making a problem, or improving this, or on innovation. You know, what can we do for this brand? If we have 10 brands, for example, there's always new stuff you can develop, and we have a thing where we try and take one of the brands every year and reinvigorate it to, you know, bring in either, say for example, when we opened up Aston Chilegon during COVID, we said, okay, how can we make the room so that, you know, you're not having to touch stuff. So one of the innovations that came out of that then was using Google Nests.
Oh, Google Nest.
So we were actually the first hotel. That was the first hotel in the world actually that had Google Nests replacing the phones, where you can go, okay, hey Google, call the front desk, or hey Google, I want to order some food. But with that then, the innovation, then you can also, you know, develop that to control the television like you do at home. So, but if you do it at home, it's quite easy. Google will set it up for you. But if you set it up in a hotel with 150 units, it's much more difficult because, you know, if you say, hey Google, turn on the TV, all the TVs in 150 rooms will actually turn on unless you have it done. Or if somebody sets the alarm for 7:30 in the morning and you don't wipe it, the alarm will go off every day for 7:30, right? But so what you can do then is that, you know, you can control the air conditioning, you control the television, for example, you can control the lights, you control the shower, whatever you want to do. But what that also allows you to do then, innovation, is say, okay, you know, who would benefit a lot from this particular product? And then you say, okay, well, visually impaired people, blind people might say, okay, if I'm a blind person, I want to go into a room, I want some music, I want the air conditioning on. Now that blind person can go into a room in Aston Chilegon, for example, be left there by himself, so they don't have to share a room with somebody. They have their own space.
Privacy.
They have their own privacy. They have their own independence, which is a big thing for them, of course. Anybody and nobody wants to have to be cared for all the time, you know. And then they can organize, you know, do their own air conditioning, listen to their own music, turn on their own television, order some room service, do their own stuff just by calling out, hey Google, this and this, you know. So this kind of leads you into different paths, these different innovations and stuff like that. So that was one of the things we did, but many of them, you know, during COVID, which kind of gave us a chance to kind of almost press a reset button on certain things, rejig the organization, and take a fresh look at, you know, do you really need a phone in the room? So, well, maybe not. You don't have to touch it. Do you really need, you know, touch button remotes? You could just use it off this. I mean, there was many different things kind of we came across. So, yeah, that innovation kind of keeps on going, you know. And again, like more software, the property management system we developed was all kind of like new innovations we did. Yeah.
Any exciting new properties in the next 12 months that I would be
happy to
really
go
excited to look at? Anyer is on my list, but is there any other property that you would recommend?
Yeah, we just opened one in Sorong, which is the gateway
Sorong.
to. Yeah, we opened up there.
Raja Ampat, yes.
Which is the gateway to Raja Ampat. It's just across the street from the airport. Beautiful hotel, really nice, very nicely built, lovely owner. And he's after building a really nice hotel, so we're very proud of that. Just opened like 2 months ago. And then
Sorong Raja Ampat.
Sorong, yeah. And then in Serang, the hotel we're building there ourselves, which that'll be very interesting. And again, we try to incorporate some of the, you know, design, you know, the cultural things from Serang into the design for the, you know, the lobby, for example, the materials, the batik, stuff like that has certain particular patterns, certain types of colors. And later on, there'll be certain dishes and stuff from that. So that'll be a nice hotel. And that will, again, it'll be something new in that city that we'll have developed. And in our mind, it really we'll be helping to, you know, develop business in that area, develop the government in that area, you know, really bring about, you know, change in Serang just because of that one particular hotel, you know. So we're really looking forward to opening that one, yeah. But we have about another 10 hotels opening up this year. And all of them are very interesting and nice places, and kind of one of the things we try and do in our hotels.
Mostly in eastern part of Indonesia.
Different places. I mean, we've opened in Sorong. We're opened up in Mojokerto. We're opening up in you know, Serang. We're opening up in a lot of different places. Yeah, you could. So yeah, different. I mean, you know, Java obviously has a lot of hotels, but we're also like going where also the market is looking to go, a little bit further east, a little bit further north, you know, different places. So, I mean, there's many great places in Indonesia to go, and we're happy to go there and support the business, support the companies and the corporates and everything that has to go there, you know. So,
finally, and this is the last questions. If you have a chance to be a minister for tourism, what would be your 3 top things that you would do right away, other than aggregate AMG, aggregate incremental gains, and ham?
Well, the first thing I think I'd have to do is talk to you. Find out, okay, what was your plan, and then, okay, you were doing this, you were doing that. Find out, what's your kind of vision for the future, and then continue on. I mean, I think you've done a great job from.
Thank you.
I think speaking up from our group and many hoteliers, I think it's been great having you as the Minister of Tourism, and I think you've done a really great job at it. Continuing on from the big shoes that you've filled, I think would be a bit of a difficult one. I mean, you're very out there. I'm more behind the scenes. You're very like. Maybe before you were behind the scenes, now you're very much more out there. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things to do. I mean, Indonesia in itself is,
beautiful country.
Amazing place. I mean, I take a look at maybe, where the competition is at the moment. If you're looking at different stuff, I mean, if you're looking at, for example, around Southeast Asia, I mean, how is our competition and what are they doing? I mean, Thailand, for example, has brought in some new innovations, some a little bit controversial, you might say. But I mean, I don't think Indonesia should go in that particular direction. But take a look at what Malaysia is doing, what Vietnam is doing, what Thailand is doing for the Southeast Asian market. Maybe go a little bit more. I mean, 50% of the market when it comes back is probably going to be Chinese tourists. Maybe open up an office in China. Maybe do a little bit more in China there. If we're looking at like high-end business, we were talking about earlier about the 5 destinations and bringing in. I mean, one of the keys obviously is bringing in people, not just tourists, but tourists who are spending money. So if you want to bring in
quality tourists,
I mean, you need quality products. And the ones who are doing that probably at the moment best would be like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, for example. Yes. I mean, if you're spending, if you want to attract people to Abu Dhabi high end and they spend $2 billion developing the Louvre Mark II, I mean, that's quite an investment. I mean, it's
huge.
I mean, there's a big difference between trying to build a road between Manado and Likupang. It's like, okay, it might cost you $250 million, but you're not going to end up with the Louvre. You're going to end up with a road to Likupang, right?
Yes.
So I mean, stuff like this has to be looked at these days. But that high-end traveler, and high-end travelers, I mean, they're getting more people. What happened after COVID, people are spending more. They want to spend more in the experiences, the samplings. The travel, stuff like that. People have realized, I mean, houses and homes and stuff are not really important investments. People realize now that they need to get out and experience the world, travel, see different stuff, and meet different people and see different things. And Indonesia has like so much of that. I mean, one of the things, I mean, about Bali, it's so unique is the culture in itself, but it is unique and by definition, and it can't be replicated. But I mean, why would you want to replicate Bali anyway? Because there's so many other things around Indonesia that have their own thing going on. If it's, Likupang or Toraja or Lake Toba or Lombok with the Sasak people or many different places. I mean, there's just so much here. So it's a wealth of stuff, and people, thankfully these days, are getting more into cultural travel. They're more interested in it. They'll spend more money on it. They're more interested in seeing cultural shows and cultural art and experiencing cultural, different cuisines and stuff like that. So Indonesia has a wealth to offer. I mean, it's a huge job that you have, but I mean, you've got an amazing product to sell and showcase to the world. So hats off to you. Yeah.
Thank you, John. It's been wonderful getting insights from you, and we're working very hard to bring in 7.4 million tourists this year, foreign tourist arrival, and the movement of 1.4 billion Indonesians, domestic tourists, to different places. So we hope we could collaborate more with Archipelago Group. And
hope so too.
Success to you.
Thanks very much.
Your pipeline of new hotels and initiatives. And we look forward for continuing very good collaborations ahead.
Thanks very much.